This meeting is being recorded.
All right, this is another meeting, another session, and let's see what we have about an open house. Any question from any angle? We want to be the first to start with a question.
My question is kind of extensive, so I might have to wait for somebody to go. Sorry, my voice sounds like this. I'm still recovering. Yeah, I can start off. Anybody who has something shorter?
All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I remember the last meeting you gave me. You gave us the sample for the project roadmap.
Yeah.
My team has been working on it. The only thing that made it a little clumsy for us is that we were creating a project roadmap for a project we were not involved with. With all the guidance you gave and with all the previous knowledge we had, we were able to put our own project roadmap together. We know our discovery session, we know the SMEs, we know the phase we're at, we know where we're going, we know our timeline, even though these timelines are not fixed. So we finished at our own, and now we have to do a project roadmap for 10 features, 10 different orgs. They have training, HRO, security, emergency preparedness. That is how they name this. They call them orgs in this other department. So I was asked to create it, and I need help because, so you gave me all this overview and I looked at it, and now I'm able to understand the template. We have to put the list. We don't want to do 10 project roadmap. We can really list all the orgs, all the, I don't know if I call it department, but we call it its features. List them on the right hand and put the timeline, because we want first the high level that they can show to the stakeholders, and maybe put the, it's 18 months project. So put the 18 months. They started since February. I was onboarded in around May. So I had to put the timeline, then make them into quarters. My BA is doing this. I'm kind of telling him because he's very fast with putting things together. Me, I'm very fast with maybe cramming things. So I was telling him, and they didn't even know what to do. Senior BA, all of them. Thank God I have post-job training and support. So I told them the timeline. They made some mistake, and I said we have to put the timeline because it's a high-level overview, and divide them into quarters, 3 months. And that's where we're at. Now I had to go because I saw what you sent to me, but because I wasn't there when they did the details. Now, what do we feed in this roadmap? And I've been stored in all this time. And I found that we have to feed in from the product backlog, because right now we don't have people to sit down and tell us, what did you do? What did you not do? So I think this question now is, if I am right, we'll have to go to the product backlog to see when they started the project. And what I discovered again is that the stories, because they're high level, some of the stories have to be regrouped so that we can get like summarized, like, because we can put 10 stories in one.
Okay. Can I come in? I know you
yes,
finished, but I think I understand exactly what you're trying to where you're trying to get.
Feeding in
you have different teams, right? And or you have different value stream. I will call them value stream.
Value streams, okay.
Or you have all the different one, and each of these value stream, they're working on different future. But at the end of the day, we're working towards a bigger goal, right? So
yes,
you want to create a roadmap for all of these different teams and their future, and you want to put it all in one template, not like
template, yes.
Not like 10 different roadmap. Okay, so the first thing you want to consider is you want to consider the overall business value that all of these different teams want to achieve. Now, when you understand the different business value, it is easier now for you to understand what each team is looking forward to deliver. So the first level of the roadmap is going to be more on the business value. Now, when you identify the different business value, you realize that some business value cut across 2 different departments, right?
Yeah.
Across 2 different departments. And in that case, it's also going to help you to already start identifying if you may have dependency and how this dependency can be coordinated along the line. So first of all, overall business value, and then you kind of break it down to maybe the sub business value can be more like the objective they want to achieve. And then from this objective or from this sub business value, we can now put down the futures or the futures. The futures are also can also align with the epics. Now, if you want to take stuff from your backlog, if your backlog is well organized, then you need to look at the epics in the backlog. Go on the epics menu. If you go on the epics menu, you will see, you click on every epics. If the story were well written, every story that is related to every epic will pull out. So it's going to be easier for you to say, okay, the first quarter, HR team is focusing on this team is focusing on this, and these are the related stories that are going to link to the backlog. The challenge you probably will be facing is that the product backlog is supposed to be massively represented by the technical team. And then you're not a technical person and you're trying to create it without having really detailed knowledge on some of the business goals. But if you could kind of wrap your hands on the overall business values, and then what are the objective or the sub business value, and what are the futures that each values is trying to, because futures only contribute to business values, or futures only contribute to achieving business value. If not, that's the easiest way to group the futures. If you group now into futures, now you can now be able to say, oh, the HR team and this team are both collaborating on this feature. So it's going to cut across the first quarter and you can easily identify the team. So, but if you want to go by team, it's going to be confusing. So go by business value, then go by objectives, the business value want to achieve, and then see which future fall under which objective, and then which team now is working on which future. It's going to be easier for you to easily handle it like that.
Okay. It's just one team. Our team was onboarded late. That's the only thing. So it's like one team working on 10, is it feature or epic? I'll call it.
Okay.
It's really big. We're working on 10 different areas.
It's gonna be the same thing. Since it's one team, it's even easier.
One team, yes.
Yes, you can now see the business value. You see what are the priority, which you want to turn it into objectives. And it's based on the objective that you can even prioritize which one is coming first and which one is coming next. And then you're able to easily get the flow from what you probably will be looking at within the first quarter, within the second quarter, within the third quarter. Since at a high level, you probably would not really need to go deep down into stories and all of that. You might just end at the level of different futures and why the futures are important to be delivered.
Okay, so since it's high level, like we were working on the compliance and we've done so many discovery sessions, we've done so much. I don't need to add stories on that part. No stories.
Yeah, if you want to do detailed quarterly roadmap, you might want to go into stories. But if you're doing a high-level roadmap, you end at the level of futures and how the futures are going to be built across the year. Then if you want to get it, for instance, you're doing a demo and you want to look at what are we zooming towards the next quarter, you may go into looking at stories.
Okay, so that would be because they say we should do two, one very detailed and one high level. So the very detailed would be like one quarter. The high level should be all the timeline, like 18-month timeline. Okay, I was just confused what to impute because I wasn't there May, so to know, so I found out it's gonna be on the backlog. So you said we should look at the epic. From the epic, get the features. That's what will be on the high level. No stories, no task.
Yeah, except they ask you to do that. But
yeah, they ask us to do two, one very detailed and one not very detailed.
Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. That was the question.
You're welcome. Jay, I see your hand up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you now.
Okay, sorry. Well, my question was very different from what the previous person was talking about. Mine was more like, okay, I don't know if I'm having issues with my resume, but recruiters be reaching out to me on LinkedIn, and we'd be going over a conversation on the phone, and they sound like, okay, they're interested. And after they ask me to send me their resume, I send them my resume, they just ghost. They disappear. I don't hear from them anymore. I'm not sure what the problem is. And that happened like 5 times last week. So I'm not sure if it's my resume. I mean, I got my resume checked and they said it was good, but I don't know because I'm not an expert, but I'm not sure what the problem is. They just disappeared after they get my resume.
Couple of things you need to check. Does your resume align with your LinkedIn profile? Is it the same thing, or do we see a lot of gap between your resume and your LinkedIn profile? That's the first thing you want to check, because if they're attracted by your LinkedIn profile, you send your resume and they try to compare both and there's no alignment, that's a red flag. Now, if your resume aligns with your LinkedIn profile, then the second thing you need to check, it's going to be more or less the layout of the resume. And but I see if they reach out on LinkedIn, it means they like what they see. If you send your resume, the high probability that the problem might be coming from your resume. So send it to me. I'm going to do a check on that, and then I'll let you know my feedback.
All right. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But should I keep applying or stop until I fix the problem?
Yeah, stop until you fix the problem, because you're closing your chances if you keep pulling on and then nothing comes fast. So to stop, I'll look at the resume and then I'll double check your LinkedIn profile and I'll send you the feedback.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Oh, Mose, you're next.
Hi, Doctor. I was just wondering, I have PI planning coming up July 14th, and I'm looking at the videos right now. I was just wondering how to, I want more details about how to facilitate the breakout room, particularly for I have one team that's going to be brand new, and the PO is new. Yeah.
All right. So since it's still coming up, I guess the last week before it comes up, or the last 2 weeks before it comes up, you want to be doing readiness, especially for the team that is new. You want to have a couple of brainstorming sessions with them to brief them on what the purpose of the PI and what to expect. So that's the first thing, is creating awareness, especially if it's your first time to get on the PI. You need to kind of create that awareness and tell them what to expect. Now, facilitating during the PI, the first thing is you have an ROTE, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Then the ROTE is going to be the main facilitator. And then they're definitely going to dish out the different features into the different teams, including your team. So during the breakout room, what you're doing, it's basically facilitating, taking one feature and then working with your team to look at how they could break those features into stories and how they could kind of do some high level prioritization, most especially when it comes to filling in the backlog of the team backlog of the first iteration. They want to kind of get that ready. And then also looking at, since you also be coordinating with other teams to look at dependency, it's also going to be good to familiarize yourself. There should be, I don't know what your organization is going to use, but there should be more or less a page where you have other teams have the futures where they're working on, and know that if they're having a dependency, you can easily kind of link up with them and ask the question. But there's definitely nothing much apart from you just facilitating the way you would normally facilitate an iteration planning, right? Just look at, most of the talking, most of the work is going to be done with by your team and the PO, and helping it to break it down. So the goal, as simple as possible, is how are we going to plan this work? How are we going to take this feature? How do we want to plan it across the different iterations? What you kind of pay attention on is you're paying attention to the capacity of your team, and then you're making sure that they're estimating rightly and they're fitting in the right.
Like I don't return the car.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, so you're saying check the capacity, and do the sizing. So for the sizing, do we want to size everything at 5 or less, or does that matter in this particular?
If I were in your shoe, I want to keep everything 5 or less.
Okay.
Except the kind of just spikes which you want to work on, you want to make sure that you're keeping every stuff like below 5.
Okay.
You want to encourage them to do that, but in the case where that cannot happen, you can kind of push them, right? You want to more or less set a standard after team. At the highest we can go, it's 3, 5 on very rare cases, but we'll try to break it down to about 1, 2, 3, because especially when you're kind of coordinating dependency, you want to keep it really down so that we can easily kind of have an idea of what effort is needed. And if we need some information from the other team, it's easier to relate with them based on the time we're putting in on our own side.
Okay. And also one more question. So since the new team, would you say to start in regards to capacity, start them off at 8 and then do the average velocity based off of that after maybe 3 or 5 sprints?
Yeah, what's your company standard? If your company doesn't have a standard, if it's a new team, you can start at 6. You can start at 6.
I don't think they have a standard.
All right. You might want to start at 6 and then also kind of plan out about 20% or so for a buffer, right? For the unforeseen. So you don't plan all the capacity, given that your team is still at the learning phase, at the forming phase. You don't want to give them full capacity because you want to also give some room for learning. And if they're not kind of catching up with some certain stuff, you want to be able to catch up some time to brief them on what they need to learn.
Okay, so if it's like, okay, I think I know. I just got to figure out the math. So if it's, I have to take 20% off of that. Like if they're at 100%, take the 20% off their capacity.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Good. So Anna's your next.
Okay, I was trying to sort out something from the last speaker's question.
Yeah.
But let me just go to the one that was on my mind. Probably I'll come back to the other one as we unfold. So when I was going through your 150 questions, I got to some point where it said the Scrum Master gets stakeholders to the sprint review. So is that what he does, or is the role of the PO to invite the stakeholders to the sprint review?
As Scrum Master, you own the calendar, you own the event. So anyone that should be part of that meeting, is your responsibility to make sure that they're invited.
Okay. So if the PO deals with the customer, so the Scrum Master also has to know every stakeholder in the product?
Yeah, that's a very good question. The PO deals with the stakeholder, but in most of the cases, the stakeholder the PO deals with is going to be just the manager, right? They won't give them access to client. Let's say we're having a contract with Nike or with Uber. We're not going to give PO the contact of maybe the person managing the product from Uber or from Nike. In very rare cases, the companies, they also want to protect the data and the customer. So those who are at the support level, or those who are the solution levels, or those who are at the high management level, that communicate directly with the client, which we have the contract with. Now, when information get in, it sits somewhere at the program backlog. Now, at the level of the program backlog, what happened is that the managers or the different product manager are the one now dish it now to the team level. So the stakeholder in this case is definitely going to be the product manager. Now, in an event where maybe someone from Nike have a question to ask about a value that was delivered, the manager will invite the PO or the PO and the Scrum Master to the meeting, including the client, and they're going to talk about that. Yeah, so that's kind of the channel of flow. Now, if the people that need to be part of the review, that, remember, during your onboarding, one of the questions you ask your manager, which is definitely going to be your product manager, is who are the stakeholders that I need to be involved, I need to engage with. So they'll provide you with a list of people that they want you to invite. So you're not the one figuring out who you should invite or who you should not invite. So they will tell you, okay, can you add this person? Can you invite this person? Can you invite this person? Now, if you create a calendar, what happens is that your manager can also forward your calendar to any other person they want them to attend. Then the person will automatically get on the calendar by accepting that invitation.
Got that. Thanks.
All right. Stella, you're next.
Thank you. My question is about the pre-PI planning. So what really happens during the pre-PI planning, and what is the responsibility of the Scrum Master during that pre-PI planning? I know about the PI planning, but I was asked a question about the pre-PI planning, which I thought wasn't part of what the Scrum Master does. But
so the pre-PI planning is the same as finishing PI. Remember the last lesson we did on finishing PI? Mm-hmm. So that's the same as pre-PI planning. It's just the question is, what do you do before every PI planning? Now, before every PI planning, what you do is innovation planning. Innovation planning, which is the IP iteration, it's kind of what you do. So let's say this was our first PI ever, right? Like almost it's going to have one of the first PI. Now, what you do is that the release train engineer is already going to already know exactly the features that are going to be worked on. So the top 10 features or the priority features that I work on during the PI are not just generated on that day. The company already know what is kind of first. Now, in most of the cases, they would kind of inform your team about a week or two on what you're going to be working on. So the pre-PI is more or less preparing your team and having like lightweight discussion on some of those futures. But you also want to kind of have a brainstorming session with your team. If everyone understands what a PI planning is all about, if you're using tools, for instance, the release train can reach out to you and say, okay, this PI we're going to be using Miro. This PI we're going to be using a Morabot. This PI we're going to be using a different tool. Maybe we're going to plan every stuff on Excel, more or less. Now, it is your role to make sure that all your team members understand the tools that will be used during the PI and also understand what is the agenda and what is expected from them. So it's more of briefing. you also, before the PI, you also kind of need to stay in constant communication with the registration engineer to see if the registration engineer need help. For instance, in setting up the breakout rooms, for instance, in letting people into the Zoom room, you want to make sure that, okay, if there's any help that you need in setting up the environment, you might have them. But if it's already an environment where the PI is already going on, then before every PI, two things that are very important, three things that are very important: innovation planning, which is just about kind of having an idea of what's going to be done during the PI and discussing them. Now, the second thing that's going to be very important during that session is also going to be the inspect and adapt workshop, where you have the system demo. We demoing the system just to make sure that everyone have an overview of what we've been working on. And then we have our problem-solving workshop. We have a problem-solving workshop, which is where we identify any challenge that we were having during the PI cycle, right? Remember the fishbone diagram and the 5 why, which are kind of the typical brainstorming session before every PI. So kind of summarizing your answer, number one, if it's the first PI of the company ever, now you will not have a system demo and you will not have the inspect and adapt, right? It's more or less helping your team understand what a PI is, setting up the environment for the PI, liaising with the registration engineer to see how you can assist, and kind of doing innovation planning to get your team ready. If it's not the first PI, if it's another PI, it's a continuous PI, what you do before every PI is first of all, innovation planning. Innovation planning is not only used to plan for the next PI, but also used in finishing every leftover work that we have in every carryover. And then you want to make sure that you are participating in the system demo and also helping your team. Now, the system demo, you can kind of tie it down to a mini iteration demo or sprint demo, right? But then the reason it's called system because it's not just your team. You're working with other teams in the train. So we're trying to see how we can understand an overview of the whole process, which is why it's called a system demo. So a mini system, a mini demo is going to be something like your normal iteration. You see, play the same role. What's your role? Your role is not to present. Your role is to coordinate with your team member to see who is working on which feature and who want to demonstrate what they've presented. And then in the inspect and adapt workshop, you actually, it's going to take the lead to facilitate the problem-solving workshop. And the goal of the problem-solving workshop is to identify non-functional requirement or improvement strategy that we could incorporate in the next cycle. And we'll put them in the backlog as non-functional requirement or as enabler stories. Did that answer your question?
Yes, it did.
Okay, Noah, you're next.
Thank you, Doc. I have a quick question. So during the sprint planning, if developers take up like say a couple of stories and then say maybe a week into the spring or within the spring, if some of them realize, oh, okay, the stories were more than, I mean, they took above their capacity. Can they drop it in the mid of the spring, or they have to wait till like the end of the
together?
Okay, can you come again? Come again.
Okay, so I was saying if during spring planning, developers have taken up their stories and then like in the middle of the stories, if they felt like committed.
Somebody is having a very noisy background. Sorry about that. I probably, please mute your background if you're not talking. If not, I'm going to just mute everybody. All right, yes, go ahead. Sorry for the interruption.
It's okay. All right, so my question is, during spring planning, if developers take up some stories and then say a week into the spring or maybe in the middle of the spring, and they felt like, okay, they overcommitted, can they drop those stories in the middle of the spring, or they have to wait till the end of the spring? And if they do drop it,
yeah, if they do drop it, go continue.
If they do drop it, is it gonna affect the spring in any way, or yeah?
All right. The best approach is they need to wait to the end of the spring, because if not, they're going to create a 40 report, right? If you took maybe 50 story point and you realize in the middle, you realize you took too much. That's a learning process. Now, the goal of a spring is not for us to do the right thing. It's for us to learn, to see if, are we taking over committing, are we under committing? So it's a process for you to learn. Now, if you realize that you took maybe 50, and in the middle of the spring, you see that you can only finish 25, and you send back 25 story point into the backlog. Okay, your spring report is going to give you an idea of what you did. But if you go to your velocity report will only report the final goal, right? The final will only report what end up at the end of the spring. So it might be showing that you committed to 25 and you completed 25, and it's like, oh wow, I did a good job. But it's already creating a 40 report. So the best practice is that if you realize that you overcommitted, just reprioritize, work on what you think you can complete, and then roll the other one into the backlog. It's a very big challenge also. It's more of a reality in the field, because most often developers or PO or Scrum Master want to impress the manager, and then they kind of walk around to see how they can take in more. Oh, let's see if we can double our velocity. Let's see how much we can do. Let's push. And then you get all of that. And now the manager's looking at your backlogs like, oh, wow, this is stuff that needs to be completed. The managers are having meetings with the stakeholders, and they're giving stakeholders update. All right, we have this to be completed, X, Y, Z. And at the end of the spring, the stakeholders is happy that we're going to receive this increment. And you could only finish 15%. So if you only finish 15%, what's happened? Agile is not working for the company, right? So the goal for you is, the goal for the 2-week cycle is learning. If your company is not taking advantage of the learning, then Agile wouldn't work for them, which is why many companies feel like it's not working. Yeah, so your goal is to be able to learn from that, and the next spring use that to say, oh, last spring we committed 60, we only finished 25. So, which means that we should not really go up to that. Let's look at 30. We start at 30, maybe at the end of the spring, we have some more capacity, we could take on more. If not, let's keep to that. Okay. Yeah.
One more thing. Let me say, okay, during an interview, I don't know if it's been asked, but what if, say, like at your introduction, and probably you tell the interviewer, oh, my project is about coming to an end, and that's why I'm in the market. Can they probably ask you a follow-up question like, when exactly is your project gonna end? Is there?
Yes. You should have a date. You should have. I kind of advise the next 2 weeks. Remember, your project is always ending until you get a job. That's only your secret. So that's 2 weeks, right? So yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right. Sheila, before I come to you, there's a question on the chat box, and if you only have an associate degree instead of a bachelor, but you have a SAFe certification, can you still get a Scrum Master job? Now, getting a Scrum Master job sincerely has almost nothing to do with your degree, right? It has more to do on how you perform during your interview. So your greatest desire is to get an interview and to prove your worth. And which is why if you're getting interviews and you're not taking advantage of the interviews, then it's not helping you. And which is the reason why you can decide to take 2 months to get ready before you get on an interview, to really understand it back to back. When you're prepared and you get into an interview, there's they can create. I've seen people on this platform, they get into an interview and they create opportunity for them instantly and ask them to apply. Opportunities that were not there, they'll just create them and ask them, go apply for this position. And also remember, I've always said most of the time that the fact that you've been interviewed doesn't really mean that you'll be hired. Many companies conduct interviews just because they want to meet a compliance issue. They already have an in-house candidate, but by law, they cannot just keep on getting people in-house. They need to show statistics that they actually advertise this position for this number of period. They interview this certain number of people, and then I've been in a situation like that, and the recruiter was very open to tell me that at the end of the day, because now the recruiter wasn't even aware, but then he got to find out that they already had someone from the inside. You know, he was really counting like, oh, wow, we're going to get to the end. We went up to the last level, and then they said that they're going to go feedback. And he had someone from the inside. Someone from the inside said, oh, they already had a Scrum Master. They were just interviewing to meet their compliance. So they don't bother waiting for them. So this happens. So a lot of stuff might be playing on within, which is even beyond your control. And this is why you really, really, really need to be prepared. Yeah, you need to be prepared. When you're prepared, for those who have been prepared and they get to that position, they realize that they have 2, 3, 4 offers even at once. I've had people that they had no bachelor, but then they're working as vice president on Scrum. Now, this is a secret. This is for you, but it's not a legal advice. So let me do a disclaimer if I give it. Okay, you do it at your own risk, but it's work. So if you have an associate degree, just because you want to meet the interviewer, put it BSc. Now, how do you validate that during your onboarding? During your onboarding, most often, 90–95% of the cases, those who do your background check is not a company that hire you. Then put the RE stuff there. Put the RE, put your associate degree when you're doing your onboarding. Don't go put what is not there during your onboarding. Now, what they do is that the background company, they only verify and tell the company everything is good. Even if the company comes at the end and realize that, oh, you did not really have a bachelor and they really like what you did, they are not going to. I've seen in cases where protocol, like when I had my first job, they did not do me a background check. I started working and I did a background check 3 months into the job. So it just depends on what they want. They have the power to go about that. So it's just about you getting prepared, do everything possible to get in front of the interviewer to prove that work. But then don't really go out of the box, right? You don't go say you have so much associate and maybe a bachelor's. There's definitely not much different though. So yeah, that's possible. Okay, Sheila, you're next.
So, hey everyone, I just wanted to echo what Doc was saying. Actually, the best way, because I'm a living testimony, the best way to do it, and you don't have a bachelor's, right? And I mean, in my case, I was already enrolled, but I didn't have it. But don't talk about the education. They already seen you, they already accepted you for what is in the resume. So you don't need to go start proving yourself that you have a bachelor's or not, right? So the goal here is to just talk about Scrum. I mean, that's what they're hiring you for. So if you're good at that, yeah. And I've already gotten another offer, so it feels really good. So yeah, to that person, don't worry too much. Just worry about, perfecting your, not perfecting, but actually, working on your Scrum skills. Yeah, so my question today is not, I don't have too much, we've had our ups and downs in the company, but we've sorted them, I would say, quite well. So everything is holding up really good now until probably, who knows, it breaks in the future. But we have a problem now, Doc. You remember last time I was asking about UAT and you guys suggested, hey, go, you can at least ask them to include you in the UAT meetings. So every time I insist, I mean, when I insisted, the PO said, we're not doing UAT at this time. And let me tell you, these things you're learning on the job because, you know, like they know you have the experience, right? So I came to learn that UAT should be done at the end of every sprint. And because they are, you know, you're releasing, what do you call it, in increments, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So my team is not doing that. We're not releasing in increments. So I didn't realize it until now we're in the third sprint because they told me, oh, we're still in the development phase. We don't have anything to do on UAT. Then I you know, kind of pull back on that because I'm still trying to learn the company and I don't want to, you know, tell them what to do. I'm not a developer. I don't know what they are doing back there. So I'm just there to see it and observe and see, you know, how they're running things. So I just brought up the other day to my director in the meeting. We are having a retrospect and I was like, hey, you know, after getting advice and reading online, hey, why aren't we doing UAT? The director was like, no, I think we do UAT, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, we don't, because I talked to the PO. The PO said that they're not ready to start doing the UAT. Then he goes off and confirming with the BAs, aren't we doing the UAT? What's happening with the UAT? Da, da, da. Oh, no, we are not ready. Oh, we're not ready. We are going to start doing it. We will do it. They have, what do you call it? A go live date. And that's what caught my eye. And I was curious to do more research. And so in this go live, they have a post date. I mean, a date before where they're going to do UAT testing. And they have like a pool of 15 people. And I was like, okay, so after consulting, I came to realize that that's a waterfall kind of approach. So they will do UAT before they go live. And then we get hit with this, you know, bugs and everything that's going wrong before they go live, right? So I want so my question is, how do I approach them within this sprint to make sure that they do a UAT and start releasing in increments without trying to tell them, hey, you know, the sky is falling, we're going to be, you know, our project is going to fall apart because I'm not doing the real development. They are. Yeah.
Are you doing reviews and demo?
Yes, we do the reviews. Actually, they split them into two. So we do an internal demo and a review, and we do an external. So in 2 separate days that we had to debate, and it was like, you know, it's the team. They do what they want. They say that works for them. I'm fine. You know, I'm just there to make sure that things go right. And if they think that's okay, it's okay. So during the last day of the sprint, we do an internal review. Then they pick up a Thursday morning, where they do an external review to the stakeholders.
Okay, so if they're doing demos, then don't overemphasize on the UAT, because UAT is just to make sure that it's user-friendly, right? To make sure that the user can actually do that. But demo, because demo come after the UAT. So demo is just to make sure that everything is working correctly and the user can use it, right? So UAT is supposed to happen before a demo. In most of the cases, I do understand my team don't also do UAT, and the reason they don't do UAT is because they don't have a real client yet. They're still really at the early phase of building the MVP. So in most of the cases, they would not really see so much value of including UAT within the team. So if they have a go live date, now since they've been doing demo, when they run their go live date, that is when real problems come up. If they're not yet live, UAT would not really make so much sense for them right now. Yeah. So, but it's good enough you brought up, so you already have an idea on that. That's going to be more of a tech leak issue on not really your issue on do UAT, yes.
Oh, okay, so I shouldn't worry too much. If they want to do it.
Yes, just kind of align with your manager on what's going on, and then get a justification of why that's not being done now. If the companies or the management is okay with that, then it's definitely nothing to push right now.
Awesome. That's good to know, because I was freaking out. I was like, so this project is going to fall back on me, Sheila. I can't even explain anything. So
yeah, if they're doing reviews and demo, then I think it's in control development.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Ernest, if you have a question, put your hand up or use the chat box. Let's get that done.
So I understand that increments must be completed before they are presented to stakeholders during the iteration review. Now, if the review is done and there are things the stakeholders want changed, in the work, do we still consider the stories? Do we still consider the stories completed at that stage where they still have to be, there's still some work to be done, some updates to be made? Do we still consider them completed at that point? Then the second question is, remember we looked at the report on Jira, and not the report, but there were some stories hanging, waiting for the product owner to accept.
Yeah.
Have those stories been reviewed at the iteration review already before they get to that stage where they're waiting for the PO to accept, or it's they've already been, or they're waiting to pass through the review?
Okay. I'll start with the second question. Now, for a story to be reviewed before getting accepted, that is an internal sprint process, right? It's part of the definition of done, which means the story is in progress, and then the story goes to review, which like someone as a PO, or maybe there is a pull request, another team member want to review the story to make sure that all the code are written correctly, or that the system they're working on has been configured correctly. They review that, and then they put it on ready for acceptance. Ready for acceptance simply means that we verify that the code we're building is working correctly and is ready to be released for production. Now, when you get undone, right, when you complete your sprint, that is when it goes now to the spring review. It goes now, so the spring review comes after the story has met the definition of done. Now we have the internal review during the story, which is a process of the definition of done, that every story that is work on, the code that is built on, must be reviewed or should be reviewed before moving it to ready for acceptance. And then the PO or whoever is in charge of acceptance double test it and confirm that, yes, the work has been completed. When the work is completed, now it can move to the sprint review. Now, sprint review or demo, which is come back to the first question, which means that we completed an increment and then we presented it to the stakeholder, and the stakeholder kind of figure out that there is more that need to be done, or some of the parts are not done the way they wanted them to do it right. In that case, that feature cannot be released into production. So we write new stories to work on the defect or on the shortcoming that were mentioned by the stakeholders. And since we should appropriately link every story into an epic, when you add those stories into the backlog, you need to link them to the epic, which the demo took place, right? So we can already identify what is the parent story, because the defect will come as just maybe part of this is not working. So when you write a story to that, you need to link it to the epic so that when it's completed, it shows that the error has been fixed. Yeah. So in that case, if it was just maybe one bug to fix or just a single limb to fix, when we fix that, we automatically release it to production. We don't have to wait for the next review to demo it again. And which is why continuous deployment and continuous integration, it's a continual process. We don't have to wait until the end of the sprint to review it. If these are set of stuff that are ready to go, it has been tested and everything is good to go, we can release it to production. but we can even release it to production before we demo it to the stakeholder. So we don't want to hold back to say, oh, this has not been demo. We cannot release it to a production because we have not done any demo on that. No, it's the internal validations and internal check that make sure that the code quality is okay, everything is working well. Yeah.
Got that.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so as for the definition of done, right? Does it vary from company to company, or do we have like laid down principles for which cuts across every industry?
No, it varies company to company, and even with the same company, it can even vary from one team to another. So it depends. Most often it's being driven by the product you're working on. Let's say that I have a Scrum team, and my Scrum team is a support team, right? Support team means that we are not actually building any code. We probably might just be receiving tickets from external client and making sure that we identify the team that need to go to them, and we release, we assign it to their backlog. So when I take in work, I'm gonna put them in to-do list, right? And then I'll have in progress. In progress means that I'm trying to identify which of the team this should be assigned to, and immediately identify the team and move it to done. So not every process is the same. It just depends on what the team, a Scrum team, is doing. Yeah. So if we are working on a product that need a lot of security validation and all of that, then it needs to go to code review, it needs to go to QA review, it might even go to security review before it moves to, it just depends on the security level of the environment we're building and what is most important for the client. Most of those who work in the banking environment, they have a very simple backlog, because in most of the banking environment, the development work is contracted out. So the Scrum team most often just track what is going on in the other team and then move it to like, it's in progress, ready for development. And then when it comes back to them, they might run it testing. Testing just simply means they are checking and logging in to see if all what was asked to be done is done, then they move it to ready for done. So it differs per company based on the requirement of the project. And which is the reason why when you get into any environment, remember, your most to do is to what? Observe, listen, and based on what you've observed and listened, that's how you ask a question. So you cannot go and say, oh no, definition of done must contain a review and ready for acceptance. So we don't have this, let's change every step. No, understand the project, ask question. Why they're not asking, why they're missing this, why they're not doing this. Based on that, that's where you're able to make a judgment. And why you're able to make a judgment? Because you understand how Scrum works, how the Scrum framework works. So you can look at, you can be able to see if they're anti-patterns or not. We had one of our team members who recently had a job. Now he had an interview. The second phase, they invited him to come on site, and it was in a different city. The company paid his flight, rented him a car, rented him a hotel for the second level of interview. Now, this is why it's very important for you to get prepared, because they were very impressed when he did the first level of interview. Now, the second set of interview was more like a consultancy. So when he got there, they actually showed him what they were working on, their backlog and every stuff, and they needed him to do more of a consultancy for them. And then he actually showed them a lot of anti-patterns that were going on, why they weren't able to finish the story, which is what we have been demonstrating here. Advantage that everyone has to be here is because we show you how the real environment is, what is an anti-pattern. So, and he is impatient enough to follow all of these things, make sure that he's learning from them. So the reason why I often use the backlog to demonstrate is not just for you to listen, it's for you to pay attention. he was able to show, and by the time he was leaving, like, they just told him, okay, this is going to be your office. Now, the goal was for him, do I really want to accept this offer? He had already another offer. That was like the second one within that week. Do I really want to accept this offer based on the other one? And I told him, okay, look, if you negotiate with them, and since you already have an upper hand, you can negotiate with them and say, look, I'm going to do this if this and this and this is done. But what happened? Because you understand what is going on. So every company has its own process. One of the stuff which I always emphasize, if you're in an interview, say, in my previous company, this is what we did. But for you to even say this is what we did, you need to understand the basic, right? You cannot just say any stuff and it's accepted. So you have an upper hand on any interview if you understand the basics of Scrum and a bit of practical. You can scale through any interview. So the reason they will not hire you might not be that you did not do well. You just be like, okay, maybe we don't like this person. We want maybe someone who is more tall, someone who is more lighter, someone, all of those count a lot on interviews as well. We want someone who has a different accent. We want someone who are not able to listen to you while we could not really hear you well. So we want someone. So all of those stuff are part of an interview. It's not just your know-how. Yeah. Okay, Sinead, before I come to you, let me go to the chat box. Can you please explain what bug triage is and the role of Scrum Master in regard to that? Bug triage? Okay, I'll come back to this question.
Maybe is that triangle or something? It could be triangle.
It's not triangle. I'll come back to the question. So I'm gonna just ask you a question where I come back to that.
Okay, I
leveled that as a spike. So I'll come back. I'll come back to that. Yes.
Okay, I was just being curious to know if, as a Scrum Master, if you get into a new organization with your own perspective, and you find out that what they're doing really doesn't align with yours, yet it's working. Do you just get into the flow and maybe change your mindset?
Ask the question another way again.
All right, so they may be having some practices which you really you're not quite versed with, and you think they're not like the best. Yet they are succeeding.
Yeah.
Can you just follow? I mean, go with the flow and maybe adapt to what they're doing and go from there.
Okay. My advice is that in the first 90 days of your arrival, don't attempt to change anything until you can gather enough data. Now, if what they are doing, it's working and it's supposed to be an agile environment, in most of the cases, they might have like long-term challenges of using that same approach, right? So you probably might say, oh, this is working for us. So what you do is you do observation and gather data on why, although this might be working, there might still be challenges. Now, if that works for them, good, you don't have to change anything. I have one of the team member level 3 in her company, they don't do review and retrospective. They don't do review and retrospective. They have a way of doing, even the PI planning, their PI planning is not done the normal way PI planning is done. They have their ways of doing stuff and just getting them there. And she does only one stand-up, I think 1 or 2 in a week. And she feels like she's not doing, so every company has its own culture. The stuff that are working for them based on what they're delivering, right? And they're still able, they're satisfied with that. You don't need to change that. So don't be, I'm not gonna put that. Don't be too agile when you get to study what they're doing. The reason why, that's why one of the questions you always get asked, like, oh, most of my team members don't like change. They've been using waterfall for 15 years, blah, blah, blah. We're not changing anything. We're looking for improving business value. If what you're doing is working, why should we change it? There's definitely nothing. If we do an evaluation of Scrum, so my goal is not to come and change, to tell them to do daily stand-up, is to to evaluate and see if, what if we do it this way? Are we going to have better business value delivered? If every team member can see that this is a better way to deliver business value and this is going to work easily for them, they're gonna buy in. So it's not about, oh, we need to do daily stand-up. No, it's not about ceremony. It's about business value. So we need to talk based on business values and not based on, oh, Scrum is good, we can learn and all of that. They're still learning in a waterfall environment. It's about, okay, it's good because we can learn faster in delivering business value. But if we're implementing Scrum and at the end of the day, it's been existing, it's working better, then there's no need for implementing Scrum at all. Yeah, so I hope that actually answers your question.
It does.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's go to the bug trash. So that was a spike, right? I did not actually understand the trash there, but I did my research and I found out that it's just a way in which we track bug. Like it says that bug trash is a process where trackers issues are screened and prioritized. So it's just a way to track bugs. Bugs are simply defects that are coming. How do we track them and how do we prioritize them? Yeah, so, and that's definitely a company culture stuff, right? Some just do them general prioritization. So it's okay for you to say in an interview, you have not come across that word. So you don't have to feel bad. Now, one stuff which kind of might also stop you from getting through an interview is you feeling bad that you don't know something. This is my environment. This is what I've been doing there. I've not actually worked on this before. And if this is what is required in your environment, definitely I'm willing to learn about that. So don't kind of always feel like, oh, I don't know this one, oh, this. Now, I can read your perception, I can read your courage or so, just the way you feel and answer stuff. It's not just about what you say, it's also from the inside, right? So you need to be very bold. Even when you're saying the wrong thing, you need to be very courageous. It can still be that you are doing the wrong thing in your previous role, so that doesn't really matter at all. Don't pay so much attention on pay more attention on yourself. So you do that after the interview. Now you do your self-evaluation. You can say, oh, wow, I did really mess up here. Let me go see what I was supposed to do. That is how you learn and you go through. But don't really prove to them like, oh, and make them see that you really don't know any stuff. No, yeah. All right. Yeah, so if they say they don't need Scrum by the book, many companies, Scrum by the book is not working for many companies. Scrum is bricolage, the Frenchman will call it. We pick what's gonna work and we enforce on what's gonna work. Yeah, we don't have to. For instance, with one of my team, they're really, really good team. So most often they over-deliver, which means they plan, they get done with the work, they go get more extra work and all of that. But it's just because we don't want to be very strict, like, oh, you did not show up yesterday, oh, this is not working, oh, this is not working. Sometimes we get on a daily stand-up and the first 10 minutes we're just chatting. And then we say, oh, okay, we need to do our stand-up, and then we get there. So everyone is just about the relationship. And because there's that interpersonal relationship, and when someone comes into the team with negative energy, that just simply like shows up, right? So the environment is really important, and helping people to deliver value is really good. It's not about, oh, we missed out our review. We're supposed to do this. We're supposed to do this. We're not doing this. No, it's about what is working and really focus on what is working for the team. Right.
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So my question has to do with sprint review.
Yes.
Okay, so my team, it's a HR based team.
Yeah.
And the developers, they don't really develop any product. In fact, the way the teams do jobs was pretty much explained to me was one team, what they do is pretty much maintenance job. There's a system the company is implementing, and what the team does pretty much is maintenance, kind of like if the system is down, they jump in there. If there's an update or something that needs to be implemented, they jump in there.
Yeah. So
their job is pretty much maintenance work. And in terms of their user stories, their user story before a story is considered done, stakeholders review it and test it. And once it's good, after it's good, then that's when the story is done. That's when we move that story to done.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, the team was, I was explaining to them the importance of having a sprint review, how it will benefit a team, getting the feedback from the stakeholders and the people on the business side. I was trying to explain all of that to them, but then they told me that we already do this. The people from the business side review all these stories before it's considered done. And you also explained to me that the business already reviewed before it's done, so she even doubts they'll show up to this sprint review if we invite them. So in a scenario like this, how do I go about it? Should I feel like sprint review is like, I feel like it's so important. I'm like, wait, should we really take it out? Because like I'm a little stuck when it comes to that.
Okay, that's the question someone asked: is there something that's working for the company? Should you really change it? Right now, based on the explanation, for it to be considered done, the stakeholder must review and accept it. Right.
Right.
So pretty much that kind of replace the review, because the reason for the review is to bring the stakeholder in and for the team to present. But if part of your definition of done definitely means that the stakeholder must have reviewed it and accepted it, then you don't need a sprint review for it.
It's not in their definition of done.
Okay, so it should be included in their definition of done, because if they're explaining to you that for the story to be moved to done, then the stakeholder must have reviewed it and accepted it before move it to done, then it's part of the definition of done. Maybe it's already there, just that it's not documented like in the document.
Right.
But that's what is happening. In that case, the stakeholder wants to go through every story, and since they support ticket, this is different because they're support team, right? So they want to go read the story and see if the task they wanted is completed or not. If it's completed, then there's definitely no need for them to come again and start presenting what they already accepted. Right. Yeah. So you probably want to kind of roll that out and then emphasize on retrospective on what is the learning circle of them doing that. Do they feel that this is effective? Do they feel like we should improve the way the process is being done and all of that? So kind of focus on more of the learning on the retrospective.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's working for them. I spoke to other Scrum Masters also there, and they also explained to me that that's how the company does it. Before,
yeah, don't change it. Just go with the flow. Yeah.
In this scenario, I guess quote unquote skip sprint review and just do the retrospective when the sprint is over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So you can now focus more on the learning that is going on. If they're putting too much pressure on the team to recommend, if stories are bouncing back time and time again, that's where most of your learning is going to come into place.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Yes. Zainab, before I come to you, I have a question on the chat box. Can you explain the different teams that we may see on the field AG support team? Okay, you have, you can have, let me see. Yeah, so a support team simply means they're working on a product that is completely delivered, right? But since it's a digital product, we're always going to have issues. Remember, for instance, we have a standby 24 hours, a team in the bank that you say, oh, I've not seen this transaction, I've not seen this, I've not seen this. And now they are taking all of those requests. And what are they doing? They're putting in a backlog. And what is the backlog doing? The backlog is going to the support team so that the support team can fix them. So the support team simply just troubleshoot and validate and see what's going on. Now you might have the API. A Scrum team in general kind of also might just be a support team, right? So I would not really want you to pay so much attention on, is it a support team or so? This is going to be based on your case study, on what you're working on. You can also have a mobile automation team, which means that a product has been built and they want to transfer the product into a mobile product. You might have an API team, you might have a web team, you might have a mobile team. So web team, mobile team, support team. You also have data engineering team. Moving data from one platform to another, it's going to be done by mostly data engineer. So those are kind of slightly the different teams that you might have, but generally call them a Scrum team. And don't pay so much details on the technicality, but it's a good question you ask on what are the different teams that stuff. The teams are going to be based on the project you're working on. All right, Mr. Ernest, go ahead.
Okay, let me use a scenario to illustrate my question. Now, we are building a product that will take us 10 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. So we are at week 8.
Yeah.
We've already built 8 features. Let's say it's going to have 10 features for that product to be complete. So we are at week 8. There is an update in technology that affects this product.
Yeah.
And it affects one part of it. Let's say the feature we build at week 2.
Yeah.
And it's also going to have a bearing on other features, like features we built at week 5, 6, or 7, which means that a sizable chunk of that project is affected.
Yeah.
Right? So what happens to the life of this project now, in terms of who is going to bear the cost of it if it is getting to a point where there may be a cancellation?
Okay, the one thing with Scrum project is that the Scrum project doesn't have a fixed budget. If you're willing to engage in a Scrum project, you need to have an open budget, which means that anything might go wrong and we're going to go with stuff that are going wrong. The reason why there's constant communication with the stakeholder, because we want the stakeholder to validate our increment to make sure that if there are any mistake, we're gonna fix them. Now, if it happened, maybe say 10 weeks down the lane, and it affected sprint 2, which was already completed. Now, this might not really be, if it's not a fault of the company, it's just, for instance, I'm just gonna use the case of Ukraine. It affected so many digital products. So many companies needed to change the way they build stuff. They needed to, if some of the licenses were there, they needed to retweak all of that. What happened? It's affecting the life cycle of the project back down. Now, it's both the cost to the company and the client because those are unforeseen, which we cannot predict. And which is one of the reasons why we use story points to estimate this is what we think. It's not fixed. if we know exactly what is fixed, then we should use hours. And that also go to the question, when should you advise a company to use hours in estimation, and when do you advise them to use story points, right? We use hours if we know exactly, we have a track record on data to show that this is going to take us this amount of time. We can easily predict, we can use hours. But if we cannot easily predict, story point is more of an estimate. It's a guesstimate. We're guessing that it's probably taking and something can happen. So if that happens, there is no straight answer to say, oh, the cost go to the company, the cost go to the client. If that happens, it's a moment for us to retrospect and look at what happened. Why were we not, if it's a major bug, why were we not able to identify the bug? So we need to now do that tracking to see where the problem is coming from. Is it this is what we do our problem solving workshop. Is it a people's problem, a structure problem, an environment problem, a tool problem? We look at all of that. And when we identify the problem, that's what we start working on. If now the cost of redoing the entire project outweigh the business value, then the stakeholder will all agree to cancel the project. Why? Because the cost of doing all of that is going to outweigh the business value. So there's definitely no need to do that. And which is the reason why you see most of the projects that have a BA, business analyst. Why? Because they want to also look at, we're not just building stuff because we like building them, because we like using Scrum. We're doing them because they're delivering business value. At any point in time when we cannot deliver business value, then we need to advise to abort the project.
Great.
All right, and the question on the chat box says, what's the reason a company would prefer Kanban over Scrum? Not just for one sprint, but for most projects they have going on. The reason a company will provide Kanban over Scrum is because there might be more of a support team or a support company. Support company might just be a company which they are supporting, let's say, 10 different businesses. And all of these businesses are sending all their digital challenges to them. And they're taking them and they're making sure they're addressing it. For instance, the team Francis spoke about, they could still really succeed so much with the Kanban approach, because their goal is not to really, the goal is to make sure the project is completed. The goal is not to kind of create so much flexibility. When flexibility is not so much important, when we more kind of want to have a higher level overview of how work is progressing and at what stage we are, Kanban is more important. When we want to leverage learning and maximum collaboration with stakeholders and feedback from what we're building, Scrum is advisable. But if we don't really need so much collaboration from the stakeholders, we're just making sure that work is completed and making sure that we're not overloading the system. We just want to have a visualization. If that is our priority, we should use a Kanban approach or a Kanban team. So a Kanban team may have, and also when we don't want to limit our team sizes, a Kanban team may have up to 27 team members just doing the work. We can still use Kanban team. But Scrum team kind of get into more restriction, the size of the team, the configuration of the the configuration of the team and all of that.
Follow-up question on what we just discussed. Can you have a Kanban team that that feeds into a Scrum team? For example, you have two teams. One is a regular Scrum team, or and then you have a Kanban team where the Kanban team actually feeds. You use the information from the Kanban team to feed the backlog of the Scrum team.
Yes, the support. Okay. Those are going to be two different things. For instance, the case where I say we consulting for, let's say, 7 different companies, and these 7 different companies are sending their concern of the product we're consulting for them through the support team. The support team are going to take that and organize it in a Kanban board. And then they kind of prioritize them and get them through the board on a to-do list, in progress, done. So when it's done, it means that they already send it to the backlog of the Scrum team that would pick up that idea and work from it. So we can have that. We can work with two teams. One is the one that receives all the bulk of the work if we're working with support client. And then that, in the case of product, this is not the case of a product, this is a case of a support team. You might have that collaboration. A support team, which is a Kanban team, receiving all what they need to receive, organize it in terms of priority, then send it to the Scrum team. The Scrum team now can now view and deliver increment during that sprint cycle. Betty.
Can there be a situation where your starts with one team and then switch to another? Like maybe you start a project with Kanban, somewhat at the middle, you realize that the project is more suitable with Scrum, and you switch?
Yes, we can do that. So what's going to be such a scenario? Let's say that we kind of felt that we did not really need so much a stakeholder in the whole process. So we just wanted to visualize the workflow, right? And our goal was just to visualize the workflow and to track how things are going and how we are completing work. We started with a Kanban team. And then along the line, the work that we completed, we realized that there's so much complaints coming back from stakeholders that, oh, this is not what we actually wanted, or we wanted it this way. And there's so much rework coming back, more than we anticipated. Then we need to switch to Scrum to incorporate reviews and stakeholder learning every 2 weeks. So that's just a simple approach where we can incorporate that circle.
Yeah, I have another question. Yeah. I know that you said last time that you were working on, I don't know if it was 2 teams or multiple teams, and your retro was moved to a different day. You did the review, but you did not do the retro that same day. So to Monday or something like that. Yeah. So what is the order of things that day? What do you start with when you do something like that?
Can you come again?
So when you move
part of the question.
When you move the spring retro to a different day, was supposed to be held on Friday.
Yeah.
Then you move it to Monday.
Yes.
So you already have the order of things that you were supposed to do on that Monday.
Yeah.
Then when you move the retro to that Monday, do you have to change the order of things, or at what point do you do the retro?
Okay, you always have an open schedule on your calendar, right? Your calendar is not always full. So when you're moving a meeting to a different day, you're looking at what time slot is open and it fits everybody. So it doesn't go by the order, it goes by availability. And also, which is the reason why we say we don't do Scrum by the book, right? If we realize that today is very conflicting and we cannot have a major meeting today, we can move the meeting to another day. It's acceptable. The team just need to agree. And then what we pay attention is what's the learning we receive by moving the meeting on another different day. Yeah, so. Okay, Mr. Ernest, then Tao.
I just want to go back to switching from Kanban to Scrum. So when that happens, how does the organization deal with the team? They just transform the team to a Scrum team, or they get new people and they start doing Scrum?
And now they transform the team to a Scrum team. It's still the same work to be done. We're just changing the approach in which the work to be done. Now, when it comes to implementing SAFe, right, or implementing Scrum, or helping the company adopt, move from waterfall to agile, let's deal with that, because that's what many of us are used to. We have the company transition from waterfall to agile. What's really happening in the process? Now, the transition most often is not going to be hiring new people. First, if a company is waterfall, it simply means that they have different departments operating separately. So they might have the development team operating on its own unit. They might have the QA operating on its own unit. They might have testing operating on all units. So item move from one unit to another unit, circle back to this unit. So there's not really cross-functional collaboration. So the transformation process is not about bringing in new people. It's about reorganizing the people into teams. So Scrum simply means that we're working with teams. The same with the transition from Kanban team and the Scrum team. Kanban and the Scrum team, they're configured together. The process, what's different is the process, the combination of the team, apart from the fact that the Kanban team might have so many people. So if you're now moving into a Scrum team, if let's say there were 25 members in the Kanban team, you may want to see, can we split this into 2 different teams? We can split into 2 different teams depending on the part of the work they're working on. We cannot keep a whole Scrum team up to about 25 people. That's not going to be effective because we're not going to have a maximum learning. So we don't need to hire new people. We just need a reorganization of the team and process. Okay, and yes, Tao, next.
Yeah, so my question is, for me, my manager wants us to start, my sprint starts on a Tuesday and supposed to end on a Monday, but the team manager doesn't want us to close the sprint until Tuesday morning after the sprint review. Is that not 11 days? Like, is that the correct pattern to follow?
If the manager says so, you should do so.
Right.
that's my response.
And that's okay. So not try to tell her, oh, we can, the number of days and stuff. Just do it. That's fine with me.
Yeah. So the same thing happens regularly. That's why we say we don't have to do Scrum by the book, right?
Right.
I think the reason the manager is saying that today is a holiday and kind of really affect, and there's possibility that many stories might not be closed. So he just wanted to give him an allowance to kind of wrap up their work immediately they come back from the spring, and kind of go, also give himself some time to go through some of the stuff and accept it before we close it. So since it's not kind of, it's not something that's, it's like a routine that's acceptable. We can.
It is a routine. It's not only for this week, this spring. It's for every other spring, not this one.
Okay, now if it's a routine, then we need to talk about that on the retrospective. And the way to talk about that is not that it's wrong. It's about showing them your report on how this affects the way the report looks like, and how if an agile team comes to do an evaluation, what's going to be the effect. So you show them the data and let them see how it's affecting the whole process.
So the sprint should be an actual 10 days and not it ending on the, like starting Tuesday and ending Monday, not it closing on the actual Tuesday.
Yeah, that's going to show on your report. So if you go on your report, you will see that the sprint was closed late. So what you do is that you go now to your previous bend down chart. The bend down chart will be able to really show all of this. Your next retro, go on all the bend down chart and kind of, you can do a screenshot of them, and doing the PowerPoint, right?
Yeah.
And before the retro began, you say, okay, you just want to give them an overall overview of the team head, and said, okay, in Sprint 5, this is how we perform. In Sprint 6, this is how we perform. In Sprint 7, this is how we perform. Now, these are some of the gaps that you have identified that is kind of holding the team back. The team is constantly closing the sprint every day late, which is not really good. It means that we're not doing any learning because this is occurring over and over and over again, which is one of the points I want us to discuss during the meeting, what we can do in order to limit that. Now, the team is not completing up to this half of the story. If you can see that, see that. So you bring it to the awareness. Now, if you do that, you're creating awareness. You're not doing that and pushing them to say, oh, you must accept this, you must do this. But the reason you're doing that is because you want to let them know that although they do that and it works for them, but in reality, this is not a good practice. And then you want to bring that up in the retrospective. I mean, they talk about that, and is your manager part of your retro?
Yeah, yeah. The manager is also the PO.
Okay, that's one of the biggest problems we're having with Scrum team. Because when you do that, if the manager wasn't part of the Scrum team, the manager is not supposed to be part of the retro. I think teams really talk about it. But when manager is the PO, now when you kind of bring this stuff, they feel like you're challenging them, right? Like, oh, you're challenging them. So, but still bring that up. And if nothing is being done, you don't have to stop. Just making sure you're creating that awareness, you're creating that learning, and hopefully it fixes itself one day. Yeah, it's a very issue. I do not only your team. In any team where the manager is a PO, there are a lot of anti-patterns that goes on because he's the overseer, right? So he can say, oh, do this. Oh, can we push this to this day? Can you push this to this day?
And also a developer. She knows about it. She was a developer, so
okay.
Three combo.
Yep. That's overtaxing. Yeah.
So, but the actual pattern is supposed to be that we start on a Tuesday, end Monday, but we can do our planning and our review on the Tuesday, like the Tuesday, not end the sprint on that Tuesday.
Yeah. So your sprint is supposed to end when Monday?
Yes, Monday.
Okay, since Monday is a holiday, it's also a reason why we should close on Tuesday. So
yeah, but not even for this one alone. That's the thing. I know if it's for this one, that's a different thing. But that's what she wants. That's what she told me. Like, I don't want to close my sprint on Monday. I want it to close on Tuesday.
Yeah. So you use the data. Don't argue with her. Kind of do your report and showcase on how that's affecting, because many of them don't know. They don't actually understand what the Scrum process is all about and how the action actually affect the report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that's the right pattern, right? Like close it on the Monday and then we can have our review on Tuesday and our sprint planning on Tuesday and retro on Tuesday. That's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we don't have to have it that same Monday. We don't have to like start the sprint planning that same Monday that we end the sprint, if she agrees to it.
Yeah. But if your planning is also on a Tuesday, it's okay to end on a Tuesday morning.
Okay, that's okay. So it's okay to start my sprint to close my sprint on that Tuesday.
Yeah, I see. Okay, to close your sprint. It's a good practice to close on Monday, but you can also close it on the day you're planning.
But that's 11 days. Will that still not affect the report?
Wait, you start on a Monday, right?
No, we start on a Tuesday.
No, if you start on a Tuesday and close on a Tuesday, it's going to be 10 days. It wouldn't be 11 days.
Okay. So that's fine. I just wanted to be sure.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Question: when applying for jobs on LinkedIn, should we stay away from jobs that have been posted for more than 1 day and already have 100+ applications? Jay, my advice for anyone applying is to put your energy on DICE. DICE have more recent, up-to-date job compared to LinkedIn. I feel like LinkedIn borrow a lot from DICE and just kind of update. That's why the best way to use LinkedIn to leverage job search is to be active on LinkedIn. share posts, comment on other people's posts, and you're going to have recruiter reach to you. Now on LinkedIn, what you can do if you want to really maximize LinkedIn for job searches, buy a premium account. When you buy a premium account, you can write to recruiter directly. So if a job is open, you can do an apply and then also write to the recruiter directly. And then you can double your chances. If you don't want to get a premium LinkedIn account, put your energy on Dice. Dice kind of gives you same day job, and you can just check there for every 4 hours and put in your applications, and you definitely get there. Yeah, it's advisable to, the numbers of applications sometimes don't matter. What you pay attention to, for instance, we had today was a holiday. So if you have been applying from Friday up to today, you're just wasting your time. Why? Because your application is going to sit in the middle. No one see that. So not advisable to apply during the weekends, not advisable to apply during holidays. Now, tomorrow it's a working day, which means there are going to be a lot of emails. So the best time to apply is you can apply tomorrow very early in the morning, so that before they get and open the dashboard, they should be seeing your application, right? So normally it's a holiday. I should be away as well. So if you send a message and I don't respond, know that I'm respecting my holiday. This is the first time I'm opening my computer for today, and for WhatsApp I've not even gone there. So yeah, so the timing is very important as well. Not just applying, the time you apply is also very important. Leverage sometime most early during the day, and during the day you can apply. Yeah. During the night, that's still okay, but if you want to apply during the night, you can apply after midnight because most people are sleeping. So even if you get your application in, it's still gonna be on top of it in the morning. Okay. Will a Kanban team have different ceremony from a Scrum team? That depends. A Kanban team, it can be configured anyhow. They can just they can decide to have their planning once every month. They can decide to have a retro at any time they want. So it's not really strict. It's based on the need of the team. There's no prescribed format like you really have the structures of ceremony, like you're gonna have a 2-week sprint, a 1-week sprint. A Kanban, they just plan their work. They can decide to plan their work every week, just reorganize and then continue the development and the flow. And yeah. Okay, I think 10 more minutes and we're done for today. Let's see if we have more questions coming up.
Sure. Good morning, Doctor. Good afternoon, Doctor. I'm sorry.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, it's not. I'm not asking question. I just want to have a one-on-one with you, and also to look into my resume before I start applying again. No, you told me the other time that I should pull out my resume online, which I've done that for more than a week now. I think like almost 2 weeks. So though I've not been around, so I just came back yesterday. So I want to have one-on-one with you this week so that I can move on. Thank you.
Prerequisite for your one-on-one. Before you come on your one-on-one, make sure you send me an email. Make sure you go through all your Scrum events, everything from start to end.
All right.
And yeah. And then
let's fix the date.
Come again?
I said let's fix the date. So that's
no, not now.
Doctor, so I should not apply yet.
Yes, don't apply yet. Don't apply yet. Yes. When we have the one-on-one, I'm also going to do your pre-interview to see how ready you are.
All right.
Tell you what to do. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
Perfect. Yes, Betty.
So I started applying last week.
Yeah.
And I tried DICE. I don't know what the problem is. when I apply, it's just a quick application, and then it sends you some weird message.
What weird message? What message?
Like they receive your application or something like that, and that's it.
Oh yeah. So the technique with DICE, it's your profile. So let me do that. A lot of people are applying on DICE, but they're not getting the result because their profile is not configured. Now, the way DICE is configured is to make sure you have a complete profile so that you don't need to go through the application part, filling every part all the time. So if you don't pay the time in building your, you don't pay attention in building your profile on DICE, you will realize that you keep on applying and you're not getting results. So what you want to pay attention on when you get on DICE, you want to make sure that, let me see if I can lock in on DICE. Now, if you go on DICE, a couple of stuff that you want to pay attention on. If you don't have these, then you need to work on them. Okay, you want to make sure that, your profile is 100% complete. Now, you look at this, you want to make sure that your profile is visible to the public. If it's not visible, then no matter how many applications you do, you will not get feedback. So you want, so I deliberately turn my off. Okay, you want to make sure that if I go on my profile, right, you realize that all my skills are showing current. And make sure that these skills and the experience, sometimes DICE is gonna take it and put it the way they want, and you will not even pay attention to that. Make sure that you're prioritizing the skills. If we've done your resume, you go on the skill set, those are the skills that you should be putting there. And make sure that all your skills are current. Like most often you will see here maybe 2009. It's like you lastly used that skill in 2009 and we're not paying attention on this. You want to make sure that, can someone mute the background? If you're not talking, can you mute? Thank you. Okay, perfect. You want to make sure that your experience in Agile, email, every stuff is correct over here. Then most importantly, you need to add this one manually. Your education needs to be added manually and all your job experience needs to be added manually. This is not uploaded automatically. So if your profile, if you go there and your educational history is not, your work history is not up to date, this needs to be done manually and doesn't align with what is in your resume. When you're applying, you are contradicting yourself. You wouldn't get feedback. If your education is not added in there, if your LinkedIn profile is actually not connected to it, you also, DICE depends so much on LinkedIn. So when they look at your application, they want to make sure, see where they click on your stuff, they want to get in on LinkedIn and they want to see what you've been doing on LinkedIn. Now, if you want to easily maximize, speed up how soon you get a job, you want to make sure that you're being very active on LinkedIn. Don't have a dummy LinkedIn profile, no. Make sure your LinkedIn profile, and one of the way, don't use a sideways picture. Your profile picture must kind of have a solid background. It's considered as a very serious issue professionally. Don't just use any picture with any background, the one you're sitting on the car, no. Make sure that the background is solid. That's one of the stuff that kind of catches the attention of, so make sure that all of that it's visible. Make sure that you are posting on LinkedIn. Even if you're not posting, comment on other people's posts that are into Scrum and reshare it. Show some kind of activeness. You don't even need to know how to create a post. Go somewhere and on a blog. You can look at what is a Kanban team? And then you kind of read into this, and then let's say that you found something that was really interesting, and then you can just do a screenshot of this and put a link and say, I found this very useful, and share it on your LinkedIn profile. You don't even have to create the post by yourself. If you can do that consistently, you realize that recruiters will start reaching out to you. Obviously, I receive a lot of calls from recruiters, not because I'm applying, but because I'm always active on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing one stuff. I'm always posting. Yeah. And I also have an assistant that works on my profile. Like they're always sending invites and sending. So if you cannot do it, you can get someone to do it. Averagely, it's going to cost you about $100 a month to get someone keep your profile active.
You're so correct, Doc. You're so correct. So I started because I'm a social media person. So I started just playing around with my LinkedIn. And guess what? I even have people I already told them because I was sick, so I couldn't even give them the information. They started asking me for mentoring. I'm like, I don't mentor nobody. I can direct you to my coach. So I have some. You're so correct. And I got calls for new job, and I'm like, okay, I will send their names to you. I just remember now when you talk about it. I was very active, and I got 1,000 followers and connection and all that stuff. And recruiters too.
Yeah, it's important because when they're searching for Scrum Master, LinkedIn use what they call the algorithm score, how active you are to decide if you're going to pull up among the top 100 or not. So it's very important we stay active as, yeah. Perfect. Okay, Miss Jennifer.
Good afternoon, Doc. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I was trying to lower my hand when you called me because you just answered the question.
Okay.
Yeah, Catherine always I talk to her and she tells me like, oh, create something, but you just explained it because I was thinking how you copy from other people's what you've done now, going on Google and then copying and pasting and saying that is, I thought that was like plagiarism. So I'm like, oh, I don't want to think about.
It's not plagiarism unless it is more than 300 words. So if you actually copy just about 30 or 100 words from someone and use, it's not plagiarism. Also, if you copy from blog, plagiarism only come on registered material, like papers that are published, books that are published. If it's just information you share on social media, I can go and copy it and reshare it. You can't sue me. That's not plagiarism. That's a free space for everybody. So plagiarism, it's when the information is licensed, pictures that are licensed. The reason I said when you do pictures, pictures might be licensed by the company. Reference them. But I can read something from you. I can write a post and you go there, you take a paragraph from that post and you go share it on your social media. That is not plagiarism. So feel free to do that.
Okay, so that was it. Thank you for sharing that. And then the last question that I have is on my resume. I don't know if I should send that to you again or I added one or two things. If you want to just, when you have time to just go through it and look at it, if it's okay. If not, because I was trying to say, I just started, I haven't updated my resume and I just started a new position that's like 3 months. Like I started last month. So if that keeps me, this month will give me like 2 months. And then just in case I'm looking for, I decide to put my resume again, I can always say, okay, I just started a Scrum job. This is my 2nd month, and then next month is going to be. So I can take what I have in my resume, what I have currently out as my current job. So that's
if you start a job and it's just 2 months, 3 months, why are you looking for a new position?
Because it's a 3 months contract though. So.
Okay. All right, that can work. Yeah, that can work. But then kind of just a generic advice, it's just to make sure that no matter if you decide today to kind of come up with a completely new resume, then you don't pay attention to what you want to say. Don't pay attention on who will say that what. Do what is going to be at your interest. Sometimes we pay so much attention on what if there are 110 companies there. If I decide today to change all my profile to a DevOps engineer, I don't care whosoever is saying that what. If you don't like it, then I go for someone else who need me. So sometimes we pay so much attention on, oh, I've already had this, I cannot do this, I cannot do this. You need to be very, in quote, selfish when you are in the job market. It's what is in your interest. Maybe 50 or 100 recruiters have seen you with an old resume and you realize it's not working for you. Change everything. If those one reach out to you, tell them, okay, this is a new me. If you don't like the new me, then look for another candidate. It's as simple as that. When we pay so much attention on what they will say, all of that, you're putting yourself on one spot, you know that this is not working, and you're afraid to change it because you feel like someone is going to say this. No, it's a game of chance. That's just life. If just like you're working on a company and they want to fire you, they will not say, oh, you've been with us for 5 years. We're just going to let you go like that. No, if you need to go, you need to go. So please, it's what's going to work for you. It's not what the recruiters, it's not what they will say, it's not what, no. So don't pay so much attention on, if this is not working, I'm going to say we go back to the drawing board. We start from scratch, even if we need to change the whole profile and start building a new one, if that's what's going to work. Your point is you need to get what's going to work for you.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc.
All right.
I like your confidence so much.
Yeah. Life is for the brave. It's not for, yeah. And sometimes we always need to know that, especially the way we deal with recruiters and interviewers, we don't have to be at their mercy. Just like, oh, you have to do this, you have to tweak your stuff to follow this, or just tell them, look, if you don't like it the way you want it, go get a different person. Oh, no, you're a good fit. We just want you to add this. No, I'm not adding this. If you're not doing this like this, yeah. Because at times also, they're taking so much advantage of the market because they know that many people are desperate. And also, don't be afraid. You need to know your worth, how much you should bargain for the position or so. I've had recruiters that have reached me and they say, oh, we can only give $65. Okay, I'm not going above 90. And they end up like, okay, from 65 to about 85 or so. So when you know your work, the point is you need to know the theories and the practice. And if you're in these sessions and you're not doing that, then that's definitely your own part, right? What is coming up next week? Next week, yes, next week. We have a portal which we need to give everyone a login. And in that portal, we've organized all the materials, everything you need to do, all the practice sessions, which even if you don't come to a one-on-one or you don't have a chance to come in this session and you go through all of those materials, you'll definitely not have any problem. So we're trying to create the learning opportunity in such a way that you can, if you want to use 1 week, 2 weeks, get every stuff and get in the market, you can do that. You don't have to wait for, oh, I'm waiting for the next mastermind, or I'm waiting for Francis to come online so that I can ask a question and all that stuff. Yeah, it's good. We always have these sessions where we have the interaction and the discussion, but you don't really have to wait. Go as fast as you can go. Yeah. All right, perfect. I think that was the last question, right? Except someone.
No, I have one last question. So,
quick question. Okay.
So, with all, I know a lot of people have gone through this and they have gotten the job, like they have the offer and they go to the background. But I'm still a little skeptical, just a little bit. How does that happen, especially with knowing that most of those companies, we haven't really worked in them?
That's a private question. I'm gonna answer that later.
Okay.
Doctor, mine is not a question. I just wanted to ask. There was a PI planning class that I attended that you invited someone. I wanted to ask if I could get the recording.
Okay.
Do you know who I'm talking about? I know you might have a couple of classes.
Coach Edwin, yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, sir. Please, if I could get the video.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right, thank you.
All right, everybody. See ya later. Have a great day.
Thank you.
And I'm still on vacation till tomorrow.
Thank you. Enjoy your vacation.
Thank you, Dr. Francis.
Happy holidays.
Yeah.
Happy 4th, everyone.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Bye.